I'm Shae Russell from mining.com.au, and joining me today is the CEO of epow Resources, James Cross. James, it is fantastic to have you on. How are you?
Doing well, thanks, Shae, and good to be here.
Now, I'm excited to have you on because we don't talk about graphite enough as far as I'm concerned, and it is absolutely a critical component to EVs. Now, I know your company is in graphite. Can you explain a little bit about what epow Resources does?
Yeah, sure. What ePower started as back in or call it late 2018 was a company focused on some way to make money in the resources space around electric vehicle batteries. So when we formed the company, we looked at all the different material components of EV batteries to try to determine which one, if any, would face a supply crisis soonest. And the conclusion we came to was graphite would face that supply crisis. And it appears as though it's here. And these days, it's not all just about electric vehicles, but things like artificial intelligence, anything requiring power, and also what's front and center right now, the defense industry.
You've said some very interesting things in there, and I will pull on those threads in just a moment. But first and foremost, can we look about what your company does? Am I correct in the fact that you like to focus on what your skill set is, and that is building resources and not necessarily taking things to production?
Yeah, that's right. We don't ever intend to bring our flagship project, Tetepisca, which is located in Quebec, to production. Instead, what we want to show is that Tetepisca is one of really, there are 10 graphite projects in all North America that can make any kind of impact on the supply deficit looming there. So Tetepisca is one of those. So what we're all about is showing that Tetepisca is one of those and finding a way to monetize that graphite while it still sits in the ground. So we're just trying to capture an essential link in a manufacturer's supply chain.
I'm going to go back to how you answered your first question because I think that's super interesting and it will be for everybody listening as well. You were talking about the critical role that graphite plays. Now, I started out today's conversation talking about EVs, but you hinted at the role that graphite plays in defense and how that's now more important than ever. Why is that?
Yeah, well, graphite is essential to making things like Navy ships or tanks or any kind of military hardware, especially any kind of military hardware involving steel or metals. Like if you ever look at them pouring, at someone pouring molten steel into a cauldron, that cauldron's made of graphite. It's extremely heat resistant and extremely conductive of electricity. So, and then we also have, the emerging artificial intelligence industry, where really anything requiring power needs graphite. So it started, yeah, graphite probably started out all about EVs and the increased demand from making lithium ion batteries, but now it's also about defense and about self sufficiency and anything requiring power.
Why is it so important now to ensure that there's a local or domestic supply of graphite?
Well, for a country like the U.S., our project's in Canada, so it's in Fortress North America, I guess we can call it. And uh, North America really has only one producing graphite mine, and it's a small one. It's in Quebec, just as our project is. Um, but there's a lot of saber rattling going on about trade wars and tariffs. And if you're doing that, you're going to need your own defense industry. And for you to have a defense industry, you absolutely have to be able to secure some graphite. And to give you an example of how deep the supply deficit is, Benchmark Mineral Intelligence estimates that by 2030, we'll need 70% more natural graphite production than we have in 20 or had in 2024. So that's a lot of new production capacity that has to come online very fast. And North America only has 10 projects. 2 of those are in the US and 8 are in Canada.
And finally, just to bring us home today, what news flow can we expect to see from epow Resources over the coming months?
Yeah, well, our business is, again, we're trying to show that we've got a significant graphite resource or multiple resources in the ground, and that it is a viable component of someone's manufacturing capacity. So we tend to do most of our groundwork in the summer. So it can be a struggle during, especially the spring, when all the results from the previous summer have already come in. So one thing we're doing right now is some metallurgical testing from a few different surface showings on the property. Our project really is about finding graphite from surface to maximum 100 meters deep. And in many places on the property, you can kick it on the ground. So we've taken a ton of samples from 4 or 3 different target areas at surface. And we've brought that to SGS to do some metallurgical testing on it to show how easily the graphite separates from the rock. So we're trying to show mineability of what we've got there in the ground and really on the surface of the ground.
Listen, this has been a fascinating conversation, James. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thanks, Shae, and thanks everyone for watching.